Right, so hello, hi, as Anna alluded to, my name's Lee. I'm the Employment and Skills Manager on One Horton Heath, and this is Rory Watson-Newman, and he's the Estates Manager. So today we'll start by telling you a bit about the site, and then Rory will go into it a little bit more, talking about the tasks that he performs on a regular basis and his responsibilities. And then we're going to touch a little bit on skills and qualities. So One Horton Heath. So One Horton Heath is the team that we both sit in. It's a project name for a development site owned by Eastleigh Borough Council. So the site is approximately 310 acres, and over the next 10 years it will be developed. And on that development we will see around about 2,500 homes, a primary school, some commercial units, so shops perhaps, and some improved infrastructure. So your infrastructure is the roads coming in and coming out, and there are quite a lot of areas that will be retained as green spaces on the development too. So Rory, there's lots of different types of estate management, isn't there? Do you want to just cover off some of these that we've just popped on the slide for today?
Yes, yeah, of course. So estate management, it really does. It comes in various forms, whether it be land, property, facilities, forestry, countryside, historic heritage sites. These could be organisations, public areas, or privately owned. One Horton Heath probably picks up on several of those aspects. So we currently have agricultural activities with a degree of woodland management, with commercial operations, with a wholesale butchery, with the facilities operating as a tree nursery and separately a training area, with residents in place on site that include a listed building. And of course there are elements of countryside management and demolition operations required. So particularly within the One Horton Heath development, the role is very varied, and quite often you will find that with an estate management role. As the site is developed, the focus may well turn its attention from agriculture to property, and more so the countryside management as areas of open space get provided for the public. For me, it's certainly interesting and certainly varied, which is probably one of the main reasons that I became involved in it as a career. The core activity of any estate will define the manager's responsibilities, and almost always it will vary from place to place or between one organisation or another. For me, from my perspective, communication and liaison is such an important aspect. I have tenants to keep informed and agreements that need to be adhered to, neighbours or local residents that require updating regarding our plans and progress, contractors and consultants who I work with from procurement, when we're looking to appoint someone through to fruition. And as colleagues, we have a collective goal with development, and we certainly wouldn't achieve that as individuals. So hence the communication between us and between amongst other organisations is really important. Implementation of work or site activities, it always requires managing. It could be proactive for things that you foresee that will need maintaining and looking after. It could be reactive maintenance where something happens and you have to resolve it. Or quite often it's project work or for development enabling work. these works, not necessarily reactive maintenance, but these works need to be programmed, they need to be planned, they need to be procured. Once we have a consultant or contractor in place, that they need to be overseen, and these works will be reviewed at suitable stages, and all of these things need to form part of a budget. Whether I work with a colleague, a QS to work through that budget, but quite often I try to put a handle on the figures. I will myself or someone by delegation will inspect the land and inspect the buildings to ensure that they're safe, secure and fit for purpose. Just this morning with the high winds, I just had a quick route round just to make sure that no trees had fallen and everything was as it should be. I think another really important part of my role is adherence to legalities and current regulations. We must, as an organisation, we must ensure that site activities are carried out in accordance with health and safety regulations, which occasionally do change, so you need to make sure that you're aware of those changes. It's vital to have a good understanding of the legal implications associated with tenancies or acquisitions or disposal of land and or other contractual agreements.
We've got two slides for you now. The first one is qualities and the next slide will be on skills. So rather than go through all of them, should we just pick out three that we feel are kind of really crucial?
Of course, yeah. I think some of these are certainly grouped. So when we look at being approachable or showing a bit of empathy, being respectful and reliable, these are things that very much are reliant on that liaison and that communication. It is so that your colleagues, your tenants, your local residents all feel that they can come and talk to you, and you will look at both sides of a situation. Can
I just ask you, Rory, like we've put curious in there, why do you think that's an important quality?
Curious certainly is. I visit the site most days of the week. Quite often as a estate manager you might often have a living role, and curious or inquisitive. So notice changing is there a neighbour encroaching on your land? Has something been fly tipped? Is there a suspect vehicle? When you work in these environments, it becomes something quite personal to you. So you're very caring for your surroundings. So it's and also with contractors, be curious, ask them questions, get a better understanding as to what they're up to, how they're doing it, whether they're doing it in an appropriate manner.
I think the other one that I'd just like to pick out and ask you about on here is adaptable. Why did you put that one in?
Adaptable. So again, there's another little bunch. We've got resourceful, adaptable, practical, pragmatic. Quite often there are hurdles to overcome. You have to consider different ways of approaching things, it's really important. Resourceful. Again, within an estate, they quite often been established for quite some time. If you're putting something in the skip, you need to question yourself whether you can reuse it for another purpose. So yes, it's and practical. I spend an awful lot of the time doing admin on a laptop, but then whilst I'm on site, there are a few tools that I make sure I've got to hand. So if something needs to be done that's a quick, easy hit, I feel that it's really important to be able to carry those things out. Right, so shall we move on to skills? Certainly.
Okay, so these are the learnt skills that either you already have or you will need to develop within the role of an estates manager. Now you've kind of grouped some of these, so do you want to touch on sort of the basic understanding of things?
Yeah, probably the basic understanding and the specific expertise, if we group those, so many of you, at college or at school, you're particularly at college or university, the learning that you're doing is for a specific aspect. So, it could be agricultural related, it could be equestrian, it could be fishery, it could be forestry. That specific expertise is really important. And quite often that's the thing that you'll lean to and lean on. Equally it could be property based, it could even be construction based. I think to gain that qualification and that experience in that particular field is crucial. I don't know as much with regards to quantity surveying, so calculations. As colleagues, I don't know as much about the construction or the planning aspect, or even the legal side of things. But or the ecology or the forestry, I can go on and on about the things I know so little about. But it's really important that you have this basic understanding of those other elements. And as Lee said when we were talking about being curious, if there's something you don't know enough about, then research it, have a look at it.
You don't really stop learning.
No, you don't.
You are a bit of a geek, I have to say, Rory.
I am a little bit.
If somebody asks you something and you don't know, you're like on the internet,
yes.
You're searching and doing your research. And
absolutely.
I'm the same. I feel if there is a gap in my knowledge for my job role, I have to then go away and I can, these days it's so easy to go away and research that. You were researching manure the other day, weren't you?
I was,
yeah.
Yes.
So, sometimes I don't think you ever get to a point in your role where you know it all.
Yes, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And even if you do, quite often, and you'll find during your studies at the moment, in 10, 15, 20 years' time, something will ring a bell, but you just can't quite remember, and again, you just need to go back. This is an estate manager can be a very broad role, and if someone is working in the same sector, and they have one role and one responsibility, that is all they know. Whereas it's a broad understanding is very useful.
So. I was at a presentation for careers advisors last week, the careers conference for the Solent area, and this was one of the slides that they shared with us, which I thought was really interesting. And they were saying, this was the Surrey Wildlife Trust, and they were saying, basically nature underpins our prosperity and well-being for providing economic value and security, for supporting human development and equality, and increasing our resilience to climate change. Businesses rely on nature for reserves such as food, fibre, minerals and building material. The eco-services such as pollination of crops, water filtration, waste decomposition and climate regulation, and health and prosperity societies that give them customers and workforces. However, in order to do all of this and to be effective, we need to create a new skilled workforce. And it's really paramount, really, that when you're training, you're gaining as much knowledge and experience as you can and really getting as many of those transferable skills under your belt as you can. It's not just the technical ones that an employer will be looking for. It's, when Rory and I recruit, we're looking for having as much knowledge and information as possible, and that they show that passion and enthusiasm that you've gone out of your way to grab onto other opportunities to learn and gain more knowledge and experience. So I've been looking at this report. I don't know if some of you probably already know about it, but if you don't, it's really worth a look. So this was back in 2012, and it states within it that the review identified that there's 224 skills areas. And at the moment, we have a gap of about 83. So 83 of those are deemed as skills gaps. So I just copied and pasted from the report that you've got the link for there, which they kind of like identify as the most wanted skills. And some of these are obviously very specific to the environment sector. So take a little look at that. If you want to go into that in more detail, if you just scroll through that report, it's about midway they start, and it's brilliant because it goes into all of these in quite a lot of detail. So if these are skills gaps that are currently missing, in your knowledge at the moment, I would definitely take a bit of time out, maybe get some trade journals or something and go into this in a bit more detail. So really just to finish off, over the next decade, as we said, the team at One Horton Heath are going to be opening up lots of opportunities. We want areas of the land on One Horton Heath to be used for education learning. So we will open up opportunities for students at Sparsholt College to come down and learn on parts of the site. So we hope that these sessions enhance the learning in the classroom and offer engaging and immersive experiences to you all. So if you are interested, if you know from what you've heard from us today talking, you are interested in applying to us for either an industry placement, whether that's that you're going on to do a T-level in September, or you're looking for work shadowing opportunities, volunteering opportunities, work experience, anything that really helps enhance and grow your CV. You've got my email address there, so please take a note of that and get in contact with me. You can also contact me via Twitter, which is Lee A. Hampton, Lee A. Hampton, or you can find me on LinkedIn as well. And then I've just popped in a couple of things on here for just a bit of further reading really. So the environmental and scientist roles, that's linked on the NERC page. I've also captured in here some environmental job adverts, because it's a really good idea to start looking at job adverts now so that you can start to identify, are there similarities in the kind of jobs that you're interested in and what they're looking for. Again, identifying those skills and qualities that you might be missing at present, so you can do some work on that.
I think I probably touched upon it more than other things really, is the fact that it's so varied. I work with buildings and property, and I work with the land, so I spend a great deal of time talking to the farmers, and then the next minute I'm effectively surveying a building that may need some work, and for me that is the real benefit, and whether it be working with the ecologists, working with the tree surgeons, working with any of the contractors, it is just that mix, that absolute mix, which really interests me. So for me, I think training and/or education is one of the key things. So as it suggests in the video, I didn't follow the conventional path, and certainly when I was in full-time education, it wasn't necessarily a role that I knew existed, and I wanted to work outside. I wanted to make a difference. Now so many resources are so available, and where you can see your education through, and take it as far as you can, and if not, pick up an apprenticeship or find a role that may be a little bit different but might well lead you to it in the long term.
I would say for me, volunteering just opens so many doors. It's a brilliant opportunity. I think what I love most about volunteering is that it's on your terms, so you decide the hours, you decide when you do it, you decide what you do. It's really an opportunity for you to kind of like find where you fit, find your specialism, find what excites you, and you're giving back to that community as well. So you're starting to understand about the variety of job roles and the kind of people that you would be liaising with. I know that our country parks team have always got things going on, like either big volunteering days or just, like ad hoc weekly volunteering opportunities. So you can always go onto the EBC website and look at countryside services, country parks, and sign up to any of their volunteering opportunities. But, engage with your local community, approach your local charities and say, how can I help out? What volunteering could I do? Even if it's like a beach clean or something, it's still all learning about conservation and the ecosystem and biodiversity and, connecting. And it looks so brilliant on your CV. I love it if I see people that have done volunteering. It gives me, it's kind of like a conversation starter for me in an interview as well. What else would I say? Just find what is your flip the duvet. That's what we talk about a lot. What is it that makes you? Yeah. What is it that makes you jump out of bed in the morning?
Yeah.
That's what I feel about my job, and it took me a long time to find this job role. I only did my degree. I finished my degree just 2 years ago. So, it doesn't matter when you find it in your life, but find it, because once you found it, it just changes your life.